Hi there, guys. How's everybody? I hope everyone's having a beautiful day. I'm a little later today because Astra, as soon as I started to film a few minutes ago, she started her howling, running, and going crazy business in the background. I think she's settled down now. I'm sorry for not posting yesterday, guys. It is Friday, so we made it to the end of the week. I know we missed yesterday, and I missed you, and about halfway through the day, I thought, well, maybe I'll do an afternoon devotional, and then I promptly forgot what I was doing. There was a really big low-pressure system that came through and knocked me off of my feet. Migraine, and then there was smoke the night before, and I didn't sleep. I was up from midnight the night before all the way through till last night at 8 p.m. I had a tough time. So anyway, today we're actually going to address two things because they're the two things that I worked on this morning. So a friend of mine reminded me that Mercury was going retrograde, and I wanted to kind of explain Mercury in retrograde. So I know a lot of people have heard about it, right? Oh, Mercury goes retrograde, and then everything goes out the window. So Mercury going retrograde, what that means, it's an astrological term. It's not an astronomy term, it's an astrological term. What it means is when you look up at the night sky, Mercury goes a certain direction in the night sky, and it appears from Earth to look like it's going backwards, and it does this for a certain amount of time. Today through October 1st is Mercury in retrograde. There are people that are a little bit more sensitive to that energy. Not everybody is. It doesn't affect everybody the same way. Some people find that arguments seem to be taken out of context. People get riled up. You're unable to form coherent thoughts, follow through with actions. Computers, electronics appear to be not working properly. It's mostly relationships where people notice. They're like, oh my God, why are these people just not, like I can't make a sale if you're a salesperson, or my finances have gone sideways. There's a lot of people that really have a sensitivity to that energy. Okay. A lot of that is rooted in your astrological chart. Some people's charts are a little bit more attached to their blueprint. And then you have people like me who Mercury in retrograde isn't actually a bad thing for me. It doesn't really cause bad things. It mostly causes the people around me to have things interestingly happen, and then I don't really have negative effects from Mercury in retrograde. So but because I'm highly sensitive in the way about how other people respond to things, that's where it affects me. So if it's affecting somebody else around me that I'm close to really harshly or in a very impactful way, then I am impacted through them. And sometimes that happens that way. But Mercury being in retrograde doesn't mean that every single person has the same responses to it. Astrology is one of those things, and I'm a certified astrologer, guys, so just understand this, that some people, their astrology chart is a little bit more linked to their blueprint, so it impacts them more in their life, and other people not so. If you are somebody who Mercury in retrograde just seems to screw up your life, and it goes in retrograde 4 or 5 times a year, 6 times a year, it kind of depends on the person. Well, anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. You can negate some of the effects. You can wear tiger eye. Obsidian's a good thing to wear. Stay away from hematite. Whatever you do, if you have any kind of empathetic ability, stay away from hematite and tiger iron. Tiger eye is gold. Tiger iron is red. And blue tiger's eye, or tiger cat's eye, is blue. Gold tiger eye is good, blue tiger eye is good, tiger iron is bad, red tiger eye is, you do not wear during Mercury retrograde, and stay away from hematite. Stay away from it. And you should probably stay away from lapis too during Mercury retrograde. Anyway, so this leads me into a talk about self-esteem. Self-esteem, having low self-esteem, what that basically means energetically is that you're carrying around negativity that you're then turning around and projecting out. So you're carrying negativity that doesn't really belong in your field, and you're projecting that back out. Low self-esteem comes from, we know what low self-esteem comes from. People have talked down to you. They have not supported you in your self-perception of self. There's how you view life, how you take life, how you perceive things to be, right? Energetically, you've taken on someone else's negativity, their fear. You have owned their fear, and it doesn't belong to you. And fixing low self-esteem from an energy perspective is an ongoing thing that has to be worked on, just like it does mental health wise. Like, you have to, it's really, really vital that everyone who knows they have low self-esteem in whatever area they do, they need to work on it. And that, because low self-esteem is so fear-based, it is really, really hard to get somebody who has low self-esteem to work on that, because they're fundamentally afraid of doing that. That fear that they're carrying energetically seeps into everything. It's a very sticky energy. So where, like being afraid of dogs, that has a certain feel in the energy field. It's very spiky, it's very harsh. But self-esteem fear is sticky, and it's like molasses, and it's smeary, and it's really something you have to clean from the inside out, really. And it's not comfortable for energy healers with someone with low self-esteem, because it's so sticky and it's so frustrating. And an energy healer cannot do the heavy work. You have to do the heavy work. You have to do the heavy lifting. You're the one who has to work on that fear. And the reason I talk about Mercury in retrograde first and then talk about fear is that people who have really low self-esteem, not always, but a lot of times, can be really heavily impacted by that Mercury in retrograde energy. It pulls on that fear. It really makes that sticky stuff have weight. Does that make sense? I hear children somewhere outside. It really makes it feel like it has weight, and it pulls people who are struggling with self-esteem issues, it pulls them down. So some of the things to think about when you know you have low self-esteem, because it's very sticky and dark and crushing and deep, and it goes very deep within you. One of the big things to think about is acknowledging the fear and trying to love it. Love the fear. Love yourself. Loving low self-esteem means that somebody has a really hard time loving themselves, seeing the beauty and the grace and the joy of who they are. Really work on, and we all have a little bit of low self-esteem about different things, right? Throwing love at it randomly isn't what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being very specific. One little chip off that sticky mass at a time is what you work on. You work on one little thing at a time. And you can do it different ways. Some people talk to God, some people talk to their angels, their guides, some people just, hey, divine energy of the universe, right? But you give it up. When they talk about giving it up to God, there's a lot of religions that talk about that. That has validity in the sense that you are allowing that whatever that belief system you have is, that universal love energy, whatever God, goddess, whatever, you're handing over that fear to them. You're handing over that fear and you're saying, I'm going to give it up to God, I'm going to give it up to the divine, and I'm going to allow you to give me back love, because I don't know how to get the love to release that fear. And it's an ongoing, everyday process that you work on. And some days you're really good about it. And you're like, I can love myself. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah, I got this. I have. And it's not just self-confidence, okay? You can love yourself and not have a lot of confidence in something. Self-love is an ongoing thing if somebody has really low self-esteem, because you have to work through all that sticky, icky mass of negativity that you're carrying around. And it's not something that your guides can just reach into your head, grab hold of that negativity and throw it away. Like, that's not how that works. This is part of your journey, part of your blueprint, part of the things that you chose to work through. But working through low self-esteem, for some people, is a lifetime goal. Like that's part of their blueprint. They will spend their entire lives working through that. And other people, it's like all of a sudden they have it, right? You've seen it. Or all of a sudden they seem to have their stuff together and they seem to glow and they shine, and you're like, wow, what a transformation. Because they've worked through it gradually and slowly, and it wasn't all of a sudden. But the more that you have that self-love for yourself, the more that you have that self-love and trust that you are a divine spiritual being stuck in a flesh body, but you are divine love. The core of who we are as spiritual entities is divine love. And I don't even pretend to understand why we come here and go through the gauntlet of learning and go somewhere else. I don't know what all of outside that field is. That's not my talent, okay? And there are people who would tell you they know the answer to that. Great. I've never found a whole lot of validity in that. What I will tell you is that I know a lot about stuff here, and I do know it's hard, and it's been hard for me. You know, I've got friends who probably remember back in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I went through a really rough time. Mentally, emotionally, physically. I was physically sick. I was mentally sick with mold toxin illness. My brain had been really affected by mold toxins, and I was really, really having a hard time behaving like me, being me. I felt like I had really lost myself, lost the pieces of myself that I knew were important. I've always been a public speaker. I've always been able to get up in front of people and teach and do public speaking, and I had something happen to me in my life that should have been a very joyful experience. But because I was really sick and because of some things that were happening with me, when it happened, when this thing that should have been a joyful experience happened, I was in a really, really bad place. And it triggered a cascade of PTSD and low self-esteem and negative self-talk and a joyful experience that should have been able to lift me up and give me positivity, and it was a gift from friends, and recognition for my work. It should have been a beautiful day. It was probably the most traumatic days of my life, and I still struggle with that. The other side of it is, because I have worked on the physical stuff I've been able to iron out, slowly but surely I've been working through the mental health part of it. And that mental health part was the low self-esteem that came from that illness and the traumatic mental health response I had to an event that should have been beautiful and was not. I still struggle. I think about that day with terror and tears and angst and low self-esteem, that negativity stuff. You can acquire low self-esteem about something as an adult. It doesn't have to be something that was triggered as a child. You know, you're a relative calling you names. There are so many aspects to low self-esteem. You can acquire it. You can be picking it up along your way in your journey and have to still work through it. Think about it this way. Mercury in retrograde doesn't affect everybody. But if you are sensitive and if you're already struggling with low self-esteem, the energy of Mercury in an astrological chart has a lot to do with self-love. It has a lot to do with self-perception and your place in the world. That's what Mercury energy kind of does. So if you're already highly sensitive and you struggle with self-esteem stuff, that Mercury energy is going to feel like it impacts you more, like the universe is out to get you. That's that negativity. That's that fear. So when you're in that place, stop and breathe. Stop and breathe and understand the universe is not out to get you. This is your journey. This is what's going on with you. And you need to do the heavy lifting. As in, okay, wait a minute. My interaction with the barista and she ruined my tea and nothing ever is going to be right with Mercury in retrograde. Stop. Pull back out. Get your order fixed. Go sit down, take a breath and go, okay. I'm more sensitive right now because I'm more sensitive to that Mercury energy. So what is it in this event in my life, my self-esteem, what is going on with me that made me think that? And then turn it around, turn it into love. Okay, it wasn't the barista. She might be having a bad day. I'm just more sensitive to it. It's not she doesn't like me. It's not that I'm being punished by the universe. It's the universe is giving me the opportunity to self-reflect on that. And now I need to sit here for 5 minutes. I know I'm in a hurry. I'm going to be late for work, blah, 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 blah. The universe is going to take care of me. I need to sit here and I need to breathe and I need to love myself. And I need to acknowledge that this energy coming at me is giving me the opportunity to recognize that I am a spiritual being in this manifestation. And it is my job to love myself so that I can love others. And sit with it. Set your timer. Take 5 minutes. That seems like a long time, right? Oh, I don't have time to spare. I'm rush. Stop. Breathe. Your guides and the universe around you, in your space and in your blueprint, will give you the time you need to do the things that you're here to do. It will always provide you the time. Every single time. If you give space and breath to allow it to happen. Your guides and the universe wants you to be successful with your blueprint. Wants you to be in that place of self-love so that you can love yourself to love others and do your hard work. The universe wants it to work. Your negativity wrapped around that low self-esteem is telling you that you don't have time to do this, and that is not correct because it's all based in fear. Fear will tell you you can't walk. Fear will tell you you can't do this, that, and the other. Let love teach you. There's only 2 emotions in the universe, love and fear. Everything else cascades from there. I'm not immune to this. The reason we're doing daily devotion about these 2 really heavy-duty topics, except it's one topic, is because I too, Mercury retrograde affects me differently. I don't have the same responses, but we're all going into Mercury retrograde together, and everybody's effects are a little bit different. And I wanted to share this with you. So go into the weekend with a little bit of help going into Mercury retrograde. You can do this, guys. Full moon is tomorrow. So if you are somebody who's following the seasons and following the moons, tomorrow would be a good time to do any kind of ritual about prosperity and self-love and honoring your blueprint, honoring who you are as a woman or as a man. Men would be very valued in full moon rituals. It's not always just about the feminine. It's about the feminine within all of us. And it's a time of the month. Every month we have the opportunity to renew our connection, renew our fullness, renew our vitality. So take some time this weekend and do something for you. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you next week with Daily Devotions. Blessed be.